Notice how the scene is crowded, figures all pressed against each other. Doesn't it seem months since we felt that? All jostling to witness the miraculous event. Jesus alone stands out clearly from the crowd, marked by a halo. Martha beside him, hearing his words. Mary kneeling at his feet. The powerful gesture of Jesus' arm seems to draw Lazarus out. Lazarus is emerging from the dark tomb, still wrapped in his grave clothes. He's tightly bound, so tightly that we feel the paralysing constraints ourselves, perhaps, the constrictions and separations from God, sin, disease, despair, conflict, bindings from which Jesus will unbind all who hold on in faith, hope, resurrection life. Notice the figure immediately by the entrance, covering his nose and mouth. The stench described by Martha, proof to the crowd, to us, that Lazarus has truly died. The situation and depth of grief is real here, truly tragic in all its humanity. This is not fake news. But even from the darkness of the tomb, death's grip proves weaker than it seemed. Life has the last word. In this painting, 800 years after Duccio, Roger Wagner has reduced the scene to its essence. Simply Jesus, the open grave, and Lazarus. Here is a scene that speaks to us today as our crowds, our family and friends, our gathered church family is stripped of physical presence. Stripped back perhaps to our essence, mutual care, the love we share in our deeper connections below the visible surface. Stripped back to the depths of our connection with God, our essence of hope, love and life. In this painting, Jesus and Lazarus stand facing each other. Lazarus is stock still, while Jesus is filled with dynamic life as he stretches his hand out to Lazarus, on the brink of pulling him out of the darkness in which he dwells. It offers us a beautiful and inspiring image of how God is at work through us, in our limitations, our potential for fear or despair at the distress and suffering all around us. Notice Wagner depicts Jesus with disproportionately large feet, emphasizing his grounding on the earth as a human being who weeps at the heart-breaking sorrow death creates. But as in the Gospel, Jesus is shown here in his full majesty. Almost a head taller than Lazarus, his clothes flaring out as he chases away death. He will carry us into a new life. I am the resurrection and the life. God calls to us, come out from all that binds us. Notice he asks others to unbind Lazarus. And haven't we seen so many uplifting people unbinding others in recent days? Each other, our neighbours, carers and health workers, teachers, those in shops, and so many more we can give thanks for in our prayers every day. A final image, a photo I took from the little teardrop-shaped church on the Mount of Olives, on the site where Jesus is thought to have wept over Jerusalem as he came close to his passion and crucifixion. John chapter 11 takes us to the heart of Jesus. Jesus weeps. He is deeply moved when he sees what heartbreaking sorrow, death, and suffering creates in family and friends in the world. We weep every time we watch the news and see those who are suffering, see the strain on our hospitals and staff, the thousands so vulnerable in refugee camps, the desperate shattering of people in their exhaustion and fear. But the tears we shed now and in the coming weeks for others and those very personally ourselves are gathered up by a God who weeps with us. God who gathers our tears into his unending loving presence with us every moment of our days. Psalm 56, verse 8. You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. Jesus calls us out of the darkness, calls us to unbind and be unbound, calls us in his resurrection life to live in faith with him, to live for others in the darkness as people who weep and as people who live and spotlight hope, love, and life amidst the darkness. So vital for our neighbours, our community, and our world in these distressing times. This is something we can do, something we can be for others, how we can pray. On this Passion Sunday, we begin preparing for Holy Week and Easter, where suffering and love, grief and hope, death and life entwine. We are called now more than ever to be people who weep and people of courageous faith, hope, love and life, through Jesus Christ, our risen Lord. Amen.